I love making Christmas DIYs that add warmth and just all of the cozy vibes to my home decor for the holiday season, and I have several projects that fit that bill today, I think. Thank you for stopping by Lavender and Lace. I am Alicia, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I hope you will consider doing so. Please give this video a thumbs up, and without further ado, let's get started with these cozy Christmas projects. So for this project, I just used one of my coffee cans that we had emptied. I tried to clean out all of the coffee grounds and just took that outside and did a couple of coats with my spray paint. And this was just the color white, and that was the 2x paint plus primer. And then I just went to Creative Fabrica and typed in snowman faces. This pulled up a lot of options for me to choose from, and I just scrolled through all of these and looked for the ones that I liked the best. And these are super easy to download to your computer. You just hit that download button and you can easily go and open up that file and then just upload that to Cricut Design Space if you have that option. And I just saved this to a folder and just went in and picked the one that I like the best for this project. And I got a different option this time. I wasn't used to seeing that multiple layers. I haven't seen that before, so I don't know if it was just for this particular cut file or not. So I just chose that single graphic because I want to cut this out. And I wanted to show you guys how you can separate an image and change the colors, because of course I wanted his nose to cut out orange and his cheek to be pink, and this also did not include the little white parts of his eyes, so I wanted to be able to add those. So the first thing that I did, I just inserted a shape that would be the size of my coffee can that I want to put my snowman's face on. And then I just inserted some other shapes, and you can just cover whatever part that you want to cut out and change the color of. So I started kind of playing around with the oval shape to cover his nose. It was a little challenging. I wish that I could have been able to ungroup all of the pieces of this design, but I did not have that option. So instead, I was just able to cover up the parts that I wanted to change those colors. And then I just grouped everything together, my shape and then the rest of the face. And you can just click the slice option, and then you can just easily delete the parts that you don't need, and then you can move whatever that you want to change the color of, and just kind of play around with your design if it doesn't give you the option to ungroup that. And then I just did the same thing for his cheek, just changed the color of that, and then I also just added some smaller white circles for his eyes. And there was one little piece that I left from the carrot nose there that I wasn't able to completely get rid of, but in the end that actually didn't cut out. So if you ever do have a file that you're not able to ungroup, this would be an option for you. Just insert a shape that will cover up whatever part you want to change the color of, and you can just easily slice that and get that fixed that way. And I just put everything back on that shape just to get it lined up evenly. And I also wanted to show you guys this time-saving tip. If you have a Cricut, you can just put all of your different colors of vinyl and cut those out on the same mat. And then you can just easily move around each of your elements. When you go in to cut everything, I like to make sure I line up the vinyl on a certain number line, so then it's just easy for me to go and move everything around, and then I'm not having to use 4 or 5 different mats or whatever, just depending on the project that I'm working on. And then you just simply feed your mat in, and you can let it cut out the first element of your design. Just hit the unload button and then reload it, and then you can completely just cut out all of those different colors quickly and easily, and that just saves you a little bit of time when you're working with vinyl and Cricut projects like this. And I like to just pull off my vinyl from the mat by flipping the mat upside down. That just keeps it from rolling up, and I just weeded out all of the pieces of my snowman's face, and then I just layered those all together and got that ready to apply to my coffee can. And I just used some of my paper transfer tape that I like to use from Expressions Vinyl. I was a little bit nervous about applying that to my coffee can. I didn't know if it would pull my paint off or not, but it works really well for this project. So just make sure that you apply your vinyl to that transfer tape well. And this one was actually a piece that I had used a couple of times for previous projects, just to make sure that it didn't pull up any of that spray paint. And then I just centered that onto the front of my coffee can, and this vinyl stuck really well to that spray paint. I didn't have any problem applying that to the surface. And I think after you see this project completely finished, you're going to want to save all of your coffee cans. I know I do. I can't wait to see what you guys think about this one. And I had a piece of this sweater that I have used for several projects since I had picked this up at the thrift store. And I thought this would just be perfect to make a cute little beanie for my snowman. So I just wrapped that around the top of my coffee can and just trimmed off any excess where it was a little bit too long, and just started gluing that around the top with some hot glue. And then I had just a loose piece at the top, and I just secured that with some hot glue as well to kind of make a nice neat seam there. And then I added just a little bit of this stuffing that I have on hand all the time. I wanted that to be a little bit fluffier for his hat and not be so flat on the top like the coffee can is. And then I just bunched that all together and secured it with a rubber band. Just trimmed off any of the excess of that sweater and hot glued any loose pieces that I may have left. And then I just took a smaller piece of this sweater, just cut down a little small piece there, and just glued that around the rubber band to hide that. And then I just started grabbing several different greenery picks and berry picks and pine cones and snowflakes, just anything that I thought would look really cute on the top of my snowman to just decorate him up a little bit. And how cute is he? Isn't he adorable already? And I just kind of played around with the placement just to see what I wanted to add, and just started gluing everything down with some hot glue and just putting glue here and there where I thought I needed to. And I had found some of these snowflakes at the Dollar Tree, and I thought that would just be the perfect finishing touch for this one. You could totally make a whole snowman family with different sizes of coffee cans. I absolutely love him. He is so adorable. Let me know what you guys think about this one. So I found this haunted house at Dollar Tree in the Halloween selection this year, and this was not my first choice for this project. I actually wanted to do just the wooden cutout of the haunted house that didn't have any of the glitter or the decorations on it, but of course I saw one and didn't grab it, and then when I went back they didn't have any more. So I picked this one up, and I thought it worked pretty well for this project. I just wanted to make sure that I covered all of that glitter, because pretty much the entire sign was covered with that black glitter. So I just took some of my craft paper and traced around my house and cut that out, and then just applied that with an Elmer's glue stick to the back of this so I wouldn't have glitter everywhere. And if you're using your craft paper to do this, it has a tendency to want to roll up on you. So just roll it the opposite way that it's wanting to go, and that will help flatten it out just a little bit. And that makes it easier to get onto your wooden sign or project that you are working with. And I love taking signs like this from the Dollar Tree and just completely changing the way that they look. And it's just a lot of fun and gives you a lot of creative freedom there. And here I'm just marking out kind of where the roof line would be and kind of the eaves and the peaks of the roof on the house. I didn't really know how I wanted to go about this. I wanted this to look like a kind of a rustic, Christmassy farmhouse. So I didn't have a good game plan in mind at this point. I was just kind of winging it. I knew what I wanted it to look like in the end. I just didn't know how I was going to do that. And I had found these wooden windows at Hobby Lobby in the miniature section. This is all the way at the back of my store. I don't know if it's like that for you guys. And I thought they would look really good for this project. So I actually picked up 2 packs of those. And I started by painting my house with a couple of coats of my Waverly chalk paint in the color Mineral. And I thought these windows might be just a little bit too big for the actual sign, the house portion of this project. So I just took my miter shears and just cut off the bottom section of each of my windows, just sanded off any of those rough edges. And then I painted each of my windows with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Snow White. I just did 1 coat, I believe, of the white paint on the windows. I wanted this to look like an old farmhouse, so I wasn't too concerned about getting complete coverage. And then I left the moon at the top of the house. I just thought that would be really cute and a nice detail for this. You could totally cut that off if you don't like that for your project. And I just used my Waverly chalk paint in that white color once again for that. I grabbed one of my small chip brushes. You can get these at Walmart, at Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby. They're very accessible. You can pick those up anywhere. And I just took that Waverly chalk paint in the color white again and just did some light dry brushing across the surface of my house. I wanted it to kind of look like boards on the outside of your house, like siding. So I just did some light brushing across the entire surface there. And then I had some of this, I think this was the moss color in my Waverly chalk paint, and I just started kind of laying out some lines for the roof and the eaves of this house. And I did do 2 coats of that to get complete coverage. And I also just used that moss colored chalk paint and did the first story roof line as well. And at this point, I didn't really like the way that this was looking, so I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out in the end. I'm pretty happy with the finished project, so let me know what you guys think when we get to that point. I think maybe here is where I kind of messed up. I don't know. I took a Sharpie and just went around all of the different sections of that roof line. I didn't want it to blend in together. I wanted that to be able to stand out from each other and just have a little bit more definition. So I just went around each of those roof line areas with a Sharpie and just did some loose lines all the way around through there. And I also went back in and just did some straight lines to kind of make the roof look like either tin or shingles. And I also did some kind of squiggly lines and just different lines on that first floor roof as well. Let me know what you guys think, if you think this was a good idea or if I should have maybe went in with a couple of different colors of that green paint, maybe darken that up and gave that a little bit more definition. My daughter said it made this look a little bit cartoonish, which it did. It kind of makes the finished product look a little whimsical. And for my windows, I just grabbed some yellow construction paper that I had on hand. This kind of took me back to my childhood, this part, because every time I would make houses, draw houses, do anything with houses, I had to have the windows yellow to where it looked like there were lights on and like somebody was home in the house. So I just traced these out to fit each of my windows, just cut them out and glued them on with some Eileen's tacky glue. I think just adding this yellow construction paper just gives more life to this project and warmth. It looks like there's actually maybe a family living in this farmhouse. And then I just attached each of my windows to the house with some hot glue. And my favorite part of this project was putting all the decorations on the house. I had a couple of different sizes of these mini wreaths. I got both of these from Hobby Lobby, and I decided to use the little bit of the larger wreaths. Just glued those on each of the windows with some hot glue. And I also had some of these small string lights that I got last year from Hobby Lobby. I can't remember which section these were in. They were maybe just in like the end caps where they have a lot of their Christmas crafts and things like that. So I just measured out the strands of these to go along the bottom or the first floor roof of the house, and then for each of the eaves on the top. And I just put a small dot of hot glue under each of the light bulbs for these and just glued them on that way. And I also took just some very small pieces of this greenery pick that I got in a bundle from Walmart. You get quite a bit for 98 cents. Just cut some small pieces and glued that to the bottom of each window. And I also just took some of my pit berries that I had on a pick from Hobby Lobby, and I just pulled those apart and just cut off the strings off of each of those and glued them into the greenery on the bottom of each of the windows as well. And the entire time I was working on this, I had no idea how I was going to finish off the bottom part of this house. I thought about maybe making this look like rock or a fence or something down there. And I decided to just take some cotton balls and kind of pull those apart and fluff those up and just glued them on the bottom with some hot glue to make it look like snow. And I think my Christmas farmhouse is coming together nicely at this point. I'm pretty happy with it. Still undecided about the Sharpie on the roof though. And I also thought it would be fun to just take some white hot glue and add some snow to different sections of the roof. So I just did that in different areas that I thought snow might actually be laying on the roof of a real house. And I added just some of the fake glittery snow that you can get either from Hobby Lobby or the Dollar Tree. Just did that in a couple of different areas along the roof. And to be able to stand up my Christmas farmhouse, I just took one of these wood pieces that you can get from the Dollar Tree and just used some hot glue and glued that onto the back of my house. And this one is ready. My farmhouse is completely decorated for Christmas and it looks cold and snowy. Let me know what you guys think about this one and if this is a project that you might like to try. I'd love to know, do you put up a real tree or an artificial tree? Let me know in the comments. For this project, you'll need some kind of wooden base. I wanted just one piece, but I didn't have anything long enough, so I just grabbed two of the pieces of wood that I had in my stash. Both of these came from the Dollar Tree, and I just stained both of those pieces with my Waverly antique wax. Just removed any of the excess with a paper towel. So one of my pieces was thinner than the other, and the other piece was a little bit chunky, but that plays in my favor with this project. And I also had a couple of different, well, several different styles of houses in my stash. These two bigger ones came from the Dollar Tree, and the others came from the Dollar General Store. And I grabbed several different colors of my Waverly chalk paint. And for this rounded one, I started by doing 2 coats of the crimson chalk paint on that surface of the sign. And for this house, I did 3 coats of the Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster. And instead of just taping off that roof line, I just carefully went underneath that with my paintbrush, and I painted the roof with the ink chalk paint. And then for this house, I just did a little bit of dry brushing with that plaster colored chalk paint as well. And that was all that I did with the paint. And then I had this pack of Christmas designs that I got from Chalk Couture. These were from last year. I don't typically buy Chalk Couture when it is new, when it first comes out. I wait for that to go on sale, which means, of course, I usually can't use it for a specific season until next year, but I don't mind doing that. It's just a little bit expensive, and you can save a little bit of money that way when you wait for it to go on sale. So I just cut out a couple of those designs, and I fuzzed this one really well before I applied that to the surface of my house. And I just used the small squeegee that you can get from Chalk Couture, or you can also find some of these on Amazon as well. And I just applied some of the red chalk paint, and I believe that color is called Cherry. You'll just want to apply a thin coat of this and just squeegee a lot of the excess off to make sure you get it in the silkscreen transfer part of your design. And I love working with Chalk Couture, but they are a little bit pricey, so you can find some of these on Amazon. I actually have ordered some Christmas designs, and I'm just waiting for those to get here to try them out so I can let you guys know if they work as well as the Chalk Couture ones that you can get. And I just repeated those steps for my little half circle sign, and unfortunately that transfer did pull up some of the paint and the paper on this one, but that was just an easy fix. I just went back in with some of that red chalk paint and just touched that up. And I have this pack of vintage Christmas scrapbook paper. I've had this for several years, and I got this from Hobby Lobby when it was about 50% off. So I just flipped through all of those designs and picked out a couple for some of my other houses that I wanted to cover them with. I wanted to use different things for each of my houses so they would look uniform and cohesive, but I didn't want them to look identical. So I really liked these scrapbook paper designs that I had. I just traced that out and cut it out and applied that with an Elmer's glue stick. And for this one, I just laid that scrapbook paper over the top of the house and just pressed firmly around the edges of that. This just gave me some indentations to go by to cut out. And I did have to trim a little bit of this paper. It wouldn't fit exactly right inside my house. So once I cut it out, I just had to keep trimming that until it would fit on the inside. And once again, I just applied that to my house with my Elmer's glue stick. And I have these rub-on transfers that I got last year from Amazon. It's going to take me a long time to use all of these, so I try to use them as much as I can for Christmas DIYs. And I just looked through all of those designs and picked out several that I thought would look good on my last house and just cut those out. These are so easy to apply and they stuck really well to this surface. This is like a dry erase board surface, so I thought this would be perfect for that house. And I just used one of my little Cricut scrapers to apply that to the house. And you could totally stop there for this project, but I wanted to add just a couple of other little details to some of my houses. So I have some of these wooden snowflake cutouts that came in a pack from Hobby Lobby. I just painted 3 of those with my chalk paint in the color Snow White. And I also just took the end of my paintbrush and just dipped it in that chalk paint as well, and just put some extra little snowflakes around my half circle sign. And these snowflakes will just help me kind of cover up the blemish that was left when that transfer pulled off the paint and the paper. So I just glued those down with some hot glue where I thought they would look the best. And that house is complete. And then for this smaller house, I just wanted to add some jute twine on the front of that, so I just wrapped that around several times. I thought this just gave it a little bit of extra texture on there, and just glued that on the back with some hot glue. I just started laying out my houses and placing them on my wood boards where I thought they would look the best. Just kind of played around with that for just a few minutes to see where where I wanted to add these. And then I just secured those to my wood pieces with some of the wood glue super glue and some hot glue. And I put my bigger houses on that smaller but chunkier piece of wood. This just gives them a little bit of extra height. And once you have these glued down, this is perfect for a mantle or a centerpiece for your dining room table. And you can also add fairy lights to this and just give this a warm glow. But I love how this one turned out. Let me know what you guys think about it. For this last project, you will only need a couple of things, something to make your garland, and I just used some jute twine for that. And you will need some fabric. I picked up this bundle from Amazon, and I will link that for you guys in the description box. But this project comes together super fast, and it is so easy to do, especially if you have a good helper like I did when I was working on this. And I just cut some slits at the bottom of each piece of my fabric. These were about 1 inch in width. And then I just ripped all of those strips off. And this project does take probably more fabric than you think it does. But you can cut your strips of fabric a little bit wider if you want to, and that fills it out a little bit better. And then I just folded each of my strips in half and just cut that in the center. And then I just started tying each of my strips to my jute twine and just filled in my garland. And I don't tie these too tight. That will just allow me to move them around and fluff my fabric as needed. But this is just a super quick and easy addition that you can add to your Christmas decor this year. Just gives you a lot of those cozy, homey country vibes. I love how this one turned out. This one will look great with those houses that we just did and the last project. Let me know what you guys think about this one. That wraps up another round of Christmas DIYs. I hope you get some cozy inspiration from these projects. Please give this video a thumbs up, that helps my channel to grow, and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you guys in the next one.